At a company party, Quinn sang a sentimental karaoke song. His voice was so awful that everyone tried to avoid him. However, a girl named Mia was the most enthusiastic supporter, clapping and dancing non-stop. Quinn felt embarrassed and stopped singing. Mia said, "Your singing was terrible, but you sang with all your heart, and that was the best thing." Quinn, touched by her sincerity, invited her outside. They spent the evening talking. Mia revealed she was deaf in one ear, which is why Quinn's voice didn't sound as bad to her as it did to others. Happy ending. They became a loving couple. Quinn still sang karaoke, and Mia was always his sole cheerleader. Ever been so bad at something that people literally run away from you? That was me, Quinn, at our company's annual party. The scene? A dimly lit room, a glittering disco ball, and a karaoke machine just begging for a victim. And boy, did it get one. I grabbed the mic, full of liquid courage and questionable confidence, and decided to belt out a classic super sentimental love ballad. You know, the kind that's supposed to make people swoon? Well, people were definitely moving, but it wasn't swooning. It was more like a strategic retreat. My boss suddenly needed to check his email. My desk mate remembered a very important phone call she had to make. Even the bartender seemed to be polishing glasses with a new, frantic energy. My voice, to put it mildly, was a crime against music. It was like a cat being serenaded by a rusty chainsaw. The melody I was attempting to follow was more of a distant, forgotten memory. The room was emptying out faster than a free sample table at Costco. I could feel the waves of secondhand embarrassment washing over the few brave souls who remained. Every off-key note, every cracked high note was met with pained winces and averted gazes. I was a one-man cringe fest. I was about to just drop the mic and commit to a life of silent contemplation when I saw her. Right in the front, there was this one girl, Mia, who was absolutely living for it. She wasn't just politely clapping. She was a one-woman fan club. She was dancing, waving her hands, and had this huge, genuine smile on her face. When I'd hit a particularly screeching note, she'd pump her fist in the air like I'd just scored a winning goal. It was the most bizarre and, frankly, the most encouraging thing I'd ever seen. For a moment, I thought, maybe I'm not that bad? Maybe everyone else is just a hater? But then I caught my reflection in the dark screen of a nearby TV, and the look of pure agony on my own face told me the truth. I was terrible, truly, epically awful. The cognitive dissonance was too much. On one hand, an emptying room. On the other, this radiant, cheering girl. My confidence, which was already on life support, finally flatlined. I mumbled an apology into the mic, my voice trailing off, and the music thankfully came to a merciful end. The silence that followed was heavy, punctuated only by Mia's enthusiastic applause. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I started to slink back to my corner, planning my escape route, when Mia bounced over to me, her eyes sparkling. I braced myself for some kind of sarcastic comment. "That was amazing," she said, still grinning. I just stared at her, completely bewildered. Are you kidding me?" I asked. Everyone else looked like they were in physical pain. She laughed, a bright musical sound that was everything my singing wasn't. "Oh, no, don't get me wrong," she said, leaning in conspiratorially. "Your singing was objectively 100%, without a doubt, absolutely terrible." My face must have fallen, because she quickly added, "But that's not the point. You were up there singing with your whole heart. You weren't holding back, you were just going for it. You were so passionate, so into it." That was the best part. It was real. I was floored. In a sea of polite smiles and outright avoidance, she was the only one who was completely honest, but in the kindest, most unexpected way. She didn't praise my non-existent talent. She praised my very real, very embarrassing passion. I had never felt so seen and so mortified at the same time. I found myself smiling, a real genuine smile. "Well, when you put it like that, ... I said. "My passion needs some fresh air. Want to join me?" She agreed, and we stepped out into the cool night air, away from the party. We leaned against the railing of the balcony, overlooking the city lights. I learned her name was Mia, and she worked in the design department, 2 floors above mine. We talked for hours. Not about work or the weather or any of the usual small talk. We talked about our favorite embarrassing movies, the weirdest food combinations we'd ever tried, and our secret, slightly ridiculous dreams. She was funny, smart, and had this way of listening that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. It was so easy to be with her. There was a moment of comfortable silence, and then she turned to me, her expression a little more serious. "There's something I should probably tell you," she said. "The reason you're singing might not have sounded as abrasive to me as it did to everyone else." I braced myself. What could it be? Was she a secret agent trained to withstand auditory torture? Was she just being incredibly, pathologically nice? She pointed to her left ear. "I'm mostly deaf in this ear," she explained calmly. "Something that happened when I was a kid. So the world is kind of in mono for me. I can hear you, obviously, but a lot of the finer details, the sharp, painful frequencies, they just don't register the same way. To me, it mostly just sounded like you were yelling very emotionally to a beat." I just stared at her, and then I burst out laughing. Not a small chuckle, but a deep, rolling laugh that came from my gut. She started laughing too, and we were just these two people, laughing under the stars, brought together by my catastrophic singing and her unique hearing. It was the most absurdly perfect explanation I could have ever imagined. It was weird, it was funny, and it was completely, undeniably romantic. And that, believe it or not, was the beginning of our story. We became a couple, and a pretty great one at that. The incident at the karaoke party became our legendary How We Met story, one that we'd tell at dinner parties to a mix of laughter and complete disbelief. And yes, I still sing karaoke. I haven't gotten any better. Not one bit. I'm still the guy who can clear a room with a single power ballad, but now it's different. Because every time I get up there, no matter how badly I butcher the song, there's always one person in the crowd who's dancing and cheering like I'm a rock star. Mia is always there, my enthusiastic, slightly hard of hearing, one-woman fan club. She's my biggest supporter, my most honest critic, and the love of my life. She still tells me my singing is terrible, but she always follows it up with, "But I love how much you love it." And honestly, that's the only review I'll ever need to hear. So, what do you think? Is this the most ridiculous, yet somehow perfect reason for two people to fall in love? If you found this story as funny and heartwarming as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. Thanks for listening.